Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And let's talk about Maryam, the madam of the international brothel, the current selected CM of Punjab in Pakistan. The next in line in the familial slavery encompassed within the US government of previous colonies, the traitors, the bootlickers, the families that they pick on, with whom they sign the slavery contract that your children and your children's children and your children's children's children have to serve us until death do us part. So, second in line is Maryam Nawaz, after her father, or should I say third in line, really, because it began with her grandfather, the whole treason. But okay, let's move on. Let us see. We need to talk about her vision. Now, first of all, you need to remember that the Sharif family are known for unoriginality. Very, very. In this way, I think you could say they're true representatives of Pakistan, yes. The inferiority complex, the slave mentality, the ever, the never ending, ever present comparison going on with anybody that is more comfortable with their skin. I've met a lot of such people, so at this point, I can say that yes, when they say they represent the people of Pakistan, I'm sure they really do. Because come on, we know so many people like that who are not comfortable in their skin. They're still moving with that slave mentality. So they've developed this inferiority complex. So they always want to make fun of anybody and everybody who's comfortable with who they are and what they are. And then they want to copy them. So you will know that you're a typical Pakistani when you first make fun of a person who is very comfortable and confident with the way they are, and then you mimic them, you copy them. So the Sharif family are copycats, and for them, you always remember that nursery rhyme, copycat, catch a rat, put it on your Sunday hat. Yeah, that is especially reserved in my mind for the Sharif family. Yeah, because the Nawaz Sharif has gone all the way. I mean, he is so pathetic in going all the way in his mimicry, trying to copy Imran Khan. From the fact that he even changed the way he poses now for his banners and his photo shoots. He's literally copied Imran Khan down to his poses. I mean, how pathetic, how inferior do you think you are? What kind of how low is your self-esteem, really? I mean, I know that it's also a sign that you know that you're nothing, and you know that you have come from nothing, and that you know that you're not worth anything. You have no merit, you have no honor. So, but still, stooping so low to cheap tactics, you're worse than Trump. And I always used to think that you and Trump were like, bosom friends or brothers, because you were both morons in the way you acted. But you know what? Even Trump is probably a lot better than you are. At least he didn't go around mimicking people, and copying people. He had his own personality, or he has. He's still alive, so he has his own personality. But I mean, come on. But, apart from, seriously, where do you people come from? And now your daughter, she's like constantly going around. In fact, are you sure she's your daughter? Because seriously, the way she behaves, I really, really have deep suspicions that she's actually Shahbaz Sharif's daughter. Are you really, really damn sure that Maryam Nawaz is indeed your daughter? Because come on, let's face it. The Sharif family is notorious for having obscurity in their bloodline. I mean, you never know who's legitimate and who's not. So, I mean, 3 generations of illegitimate relationships and illegitimate produce spawned all over the country and all over the world, You just don't know, then you really, I mean, come on, we're not making fun of anybody here. This is a bona fide, honest to God, genuine thought coming from consideration of their family background, where you just don't know who's who and who's the spawn of who. So, we really need to think on that, because her every move, her every effort, down to posing and photo shooting in front of the camera, and sometimes wearing boots and sunglasses, and sometimes moving around in a police uniform, which is practically illegal, but because it is her, so everybody decided to declare it legal. And then, moving around in, basically just showing your mug everywhere just for photo shoot purposes. So, are you sure you're not Shabazz Sharif's spawn by any chance? You never know. Anyway, moving back on track, although this is nowhere out of track, but still moving back on track to the point that now she has copied Imran Khan yet again. Yet again, she has copied Imran Khan by saying that she will bring in a new digitalization era. Yeah, okay, let's see what her vision is about having a new era of digitalization. The internet is shut down always, and today, 1 hour ago on the news, it came again that they again plan to shut down the internet. So the internet is basically almost always shut down. And that means that all those people who actually managed to start businesses and jobs online thanks to Imran Khan, because Imran Khan, let's face it, is the one who actually brought Pakistan properly into the digital era, okay, where he made everything online, including payment of bills, smooth transactions, payment of taxes, interaction with government bodies, complaint cells, everything. He literally just put the whole of Pakistan online properly for the first time in history. And that was one of the biggest gifts that he could give to the youth, because if you remember, he started his whole election campaign through the social media. That is how he interacted with the youth, and that is how he got the youth more and more active pre-elections, if you remember. And that is why even now, even though he is in jail, whenever there is supposed to be some sort of a meeting or some sort of a conference, as you can see, PTI members and their supporters are always online, and whenever the government is trying to trap them physically, they go online. So now the government is basically trying to trap them online to stop them from talking, to stop the world from seeing what Pakistan is actually up to, the Pakistani government, which is not the Pakistani government anyway. It's the American minions sitting in the seats of the Pakistani government. So the fact that Pakistan is basically recolonized, and the fact that everything is shutting down, the businesses are shutting down deliberately. So Maryam Nawaz's whole vision of this new era, the new digital era that she has in mind for Pakistan, is no internet. WhatsApp is being messed with. In fact, can we really say WhatsApp is being messed with? I mean, we know Mark. Mark is ever infamous for just lying down for the government. It doesn't matter which country's government it is, So he has no sense of shame or honor or conscience. He just works with any and every government as long as they pay him well. And he goes and trespasses upon the privacy of all his consumers. And the fact that as I've always said, I've always had a pet peeve about WhatsApp's original owners, founders, selling their platform, selling their app to him, of all people. Seriously, couldn't you find somebody else to sell WhatsApp to? And since then, I have had a healthy mistrust for WhatsApp, even though Mark keeps on and on, trying to reassure everybody that, all data, all messages, all calls are end-to-end encrypted. Tell me, if everything is end-to-end encrypted, why is it taking so long for my messages to reach somebody? Why am I not getting people's calls on WhatsApp? Why is it that a status that I'm posting is still in the status of sending? Why is it that I can literally see that a video that I'm uploading for job purposes or business purposes or, any other purposes is literally showing a bar line on my notification, where you can see a green line. It's as if you're working on YouTube, where you're uploading a video and now you're looking for it. 70%, 80%, 60%, 79%. Okay, back to 77%. 80%, 90%. 3 minutes left. 1 minute left. Has it ever happened before on WhatsApp? Seriously? I mean, come on. WhatsApp can you really call it rape when the other person is mutually interested and has agreed to said activity? No. So WhatsApp is actually working with the government. So we cannot say that the government is actually raping or screwing WhatsApp or messing with WhatsApp. We can say that the government and WhatsApp are now working together to mess with the privacy of the consumers. Because listen, if it is really end-to-end encrypted, why is there a delay in the sending and receiving of messages? Number one. Why is there a problem with receiving and sending calls? Okay, because you end up having missed calls without a single bell ringing, which means that that call has been literally cut off and it's not gone through. Why is it that even though you're online, the status of you is coming when you're calling somebody, instead of ringing, it's showing calling, and when it shows calling instead of ringing, it means you're practically offline? So why? I mean, it means somebody is actually stopping, pausing, delaying it in order to check the item before it's being sent. Otherwise, why the delays? Okay, there is no reason to put a delay on sending or receiving something unless there is somebody pausing it in order to check. So that is not end-to-end encryption then. It means there is somebody who is checking it. So there goes our privacy laws again. In America, you may have compromised with your privacy laws, but in Pakistan, we still have a privacy law. We still have that act. It's still in place. So if you put an illegitimate government, an illegitimate, unelected, US, UK selected government, and then you think that they can mess with the constitution and mess with the laws and try to work out something to please their masters so that they can hand Pakistan over to them on a platter, then you have something else coming, my friend. Because as I said before, the boomers, they are the hypocrites, but my generation, we are too pissed off. We are literally too pissed off. Many of us have left the country. You should thank God we left. I'm sure you are actually thanking your lucky stars that we left the country, because those of us that are here, we are not just simmering, we're ready to boil. And we will kill you. I mean, I'm going to be very straightforward. I don't care about your so-called rules, because you are not conforming to the rules. So why should your consumers conform to your rules? It goes both ways. You have to protect your consumers' privacy rights in order for them to follow your guidelines. Because I'm sorry, but your guidelines are also rubbish, and they do not in any way serve any purpose except for the fact that you are using them as a tool to censor what your consumers have to say. So there is that. And now we have to go back to the vision again. So you've got Upwork, you've got Fiverr, you've got WhatsApp, you've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you've got Google. They're all basically being censored by the government, and they're all working with the government in order to censor and shut down the voices of the people of Pakistan. So I would say that if any time we get back on track, we need to sue the owners of YouTube. We need to sue the owners of Google. We need to sue the owners of metaverse. We need to sue the owners of all those people who own social networking apps and platforms that are working with our government to censor us. Yes, because remember, they're not being forced. They are not in Pakistan. They cannot be forced. But the fact that they're ready to cooperate with our government to misuse and to abuse our rights and our privacy, that means that they're working with their government and they're listening to the orders of their government, the American government, to work with our government to do all of this against the people of Pakistan. We need to sue them, okay? They should be ready for a massive lawsuit for breaking our privacy, for trespassing upon our privacy, for working in cahoots with a treacherous government that we did not elect. We have not accepted this government. Who the hell are they to work with this government? That is what I would like to know. Who the hell are all these people who own social media platforms to work with an illegitimate government that is not even elected by the people of Pakistan? Who are they? They need to be sued for that as well. So there are other social networks, there are social platforms that have refused, they have utterly refused to work with the government, as you can see. And one of them is Minds, because Minds is actually one of those platforms that the whole philosophy, the whole idea of Minds is it should be uncensored, it should be unfettered, and it should not conform to any constraints whatsoever, and that there should be 100% freedom. So there you are. And because of that, because they refused to work with the Pakistani government decided to ban them. So you can't access it until you use VPN. Now the Pakistani government thinks that it has the right to ban VPN. You cannot, because remember, VPN was the answer to illegitimate censorship by governments. Because again, there is an unsaid law, there is an implied law about the internet where you do not have access to encroach upon the user's privacy. That is the whole point. You can only and only take care of encroaching upon crimes, criminal activities, criminal networks, the dark web, and all, fine if you want to encroach upon them. But again, here's the irony. You are trying to restrict people who are using the web legally when you cannot even trace the dark web. Forget tracing the dark web. You cannot do jack shit to them. And that is where the actual criminal activities are going on. But you are in no position to touch them. You cannot touch them. You are so incompetent. That is basically the internet at its best, you can say, and at its worst. At its best in the sense is that is how the internet shows you that it is deeper than and if darker and farther away than you can ever even imagine, and you cannot even reach it. So it shows the vast universality, the universal nature of the internet, where it is a sort of a virtual universe, actually, if you look at it that way. The internet is a virtual universe. So just like how you cannot reach everywhere in the universe, you just cannot reach anywhere in the depths of the internet, because that's the whole point of the internet. The whole point of the internet was it was supposed to be uncensored, it was supposed to be unfettered. And as usual, anything that cannot be controlled by the government is not accepted. So the government has to be able to control it, to monopolize it, and then it accepts it. So the normal, white-listed platforms on the internet are what the government has access to, and so they think that they can act like God when they want to censor and monopolize the media. But you know what, I would really, really salute you if you actually have the guts, the brains, and the efficiency to put your hands on the dark web where the actual criminal activity is going on, and you have no clue because you cannot even touch it. And even if you have access, it is just seconds of access. But you want to actually tamper with our legal usage of VPN, which is actually an answer to your illegal trespassing of our privacy. As you know, in the internet, people throw a lot of stuff, and a lot of that stuff that is being thrown out by people unconsciously, consciously, stupidly, or intelligently, deliberately, or unknowingly, in any case, all that stuff is highly, highly private and can be used against the people. So for the government to be able to, if it's supposed to be a crime if somebody trespasses upon your accounts on your Facebook account, for example, or your YouTube account or anything, these are infringement, right? These come under infringement of rights. And yet the government thinks that because it's the government, so it has the right to infringe upon your privacy. No, that's not how it works. Because the government is the representative of the people. At least in theory, that's what it's supposed to be. The government is not the ruler. The government is the servant of the people. You're being paid by the people to represent the people, not to dictate the people. You're literally servants that are trying to take over the master of the house. And for that, you need to be shot. You should thank your lucky stars again that the people are not shooting you. Because legally, if you look at it legally, you are nothing but servants. And your masses, your public, they are your masters. And you are going against your masters. So when the servants try to take over the landlords, when they try to take over the master of the house, then they need to be punished. And if they're trespassing, as you know, according to the law, according to Islamic law, that same Islamic law that has been incorporated into American law, when anybody trespasses, he can be shot. So, here we are. This is supposed to be the new digital era of Maryam Nawaz's vision, you know. This is her vision of what the new digital era is supposed to be. It's supposed to be firewalls, censorship, internet shutdowns leading to billions and multi-billions in losses. Not only have we constantly faced billions and multi-billions of losses in this cyber sector, the IT sector, but also in the IT related jobs sector. So all those people who were working in the IT sector have lost jobs. Those people who were freelancing have lost their, they've lost their businesses as freelancers. Those people who are doing businesses online, they've lost their businesses. Those people who are, content creators, they're now restricted. So again, they're losing big time. The YouTube algorithm has messed up not just the Pakistani YouTubers, but it seems to have messed up the European and the Indian YouTubers as well. So it means that this is again it is a global phenomenon where all these governments that are working together to start their godforsaken war, which has practically started already, because Palestine is the second, not even the first, mind you. Palestine might be the first of the actual uncensored war, but the war actually began when they began the Gulf War. So that was when they actually started the war. But now through Palestine, they are going to fully launch the world war. And because of that, these governments are working in cahoots with each other to tamper with, to censor, to subdue, to surveil, and to monopolize the internet and the social media platforms. And it doesn't matter to the social media founders that they are going to suffer billions in losses, because they have a backup plan. But the people who are suffering billions in losses are those who are using the internet or depending on the internet, to earn a living. So there you have it. So we have had literally in one day when the government shuts down the internet, within that day we suffer billions in loss. You can imagine that within Pakistan. And so if you're shutting down the internet constantly every now and then, or censoring it, or impeding work, tampering with the bandwidth, which causes delays in sending and receiving of messages and emails, and and not being able to have Zoom interviews, and not being able to do business via video calling, so that you are on the spot checking your stuff out and checking the inventory, and you're both developing trust in the process. So when none of this is possible, then tell me what business, what job, what freelancing can be done. And this is supposed to be Maryam Nawaz's vision about the new digital era in Pakistan. Amazing, isn't it amazing? You know who actually gave us a digital era? It was Imran Khan. You know who actually gave us shelter for the laborers who go, working during the day, and then when they come back, they have a place to have a hot meal, where they have a place where they can stay, they can rest, they can sleep, where they can have shelter against rain, against harsh weather. What was the first thing that Maryam Nawaz and Shehbaz Sharif did when they came? They closed down all the shelters. Yes, they closed down all the shelters. And what are they doing with those shelters, one may ask? They're probably using them for their own criminal activities. Some of them are probably just shut down, and some of them, they're probably hiding their own criminals in there and using it for their own illegal activities. Because remember that there is no doubt here, and this is a fact that is on the record, that the Sharif family and the Zardari family, these two families, are the local mafias of Pakistan. They are organized crime people. So you have the two mafia families here in Pakistan. What do you think Zardari is doing in Sindh, and what do you think Nawaz Sharif and his daughter are doing here in Punjab? And I really do find his daughter to be really pathetic, and I think she's the fool. But then his whole family is on the record made up of fools in this respect, especially. That if you, I mean, she's such a fool that she is going to bear the brunt of it all, because she's literally sold out to the Americans. So she is literally sold out. She's prostituted to them. Okay, she's next in line in the slavery contract. And her father, it means, will go scot free. The people of Pakistan are abusing Maryam Nawaz, forgetting the fact that she's literally working under dictation of her father. But her father is now going to be the classic, he's going to play that dodgeball game where he's going to be doing the classic American, act of basically having deniability. So he's just going to, deny everything at the end and say, oh, it was all my daughter who did it. So he's just going to throw her under the bus and he's going to do a runner. So there you are. And she is such a stupid moron that she is going all out. She's going all out on her father's dictation, on America's dictation. And she is the first one who's going to get killed for this. Because obviously, even if people do, like me, realize or know that after all, she's just a puppet in the hands of the Americans and in the hands of her father, and that at the end of the day, the army that is taking dictation from her, in return, even the army also knows that the dictation is ultimately coming from her father, which again is ultimately coming from America. So America has two ways of giving dictation. Sometimes they will do it through the Sharif and Zardari families, and sometimes they will do it directly. And because Nawaz Sharif has always been the one who has messed with the army, he's always been the one, because he's a product of the army. If you remember, it is the army that brought him, So his father used the army to bring the son. So it's that kind of a chicken and egg cycle sort of a thing. And so whenever Nawaz Sharif comes, the first thing that he does is he manipulates the hierarchy of the army, and he puts whoever he thinks should be put as the chief of army staff. And as you've noticed, it is never a person whose turn it actually is, and it is never a person who is on merit. Because after all, if it is somebody on merit, then why would he need your support? And why would he do your bidding? I mean, as we know, this is a very, very ancient policy that whenever you want somebody to do your bidding, you have to pick the most pathetic, the worst of the lot, the person who will never ever be able to come up on his own. He does not have the competence, he does not have the merit, he does not have the connections. So you would then make your connection with him, and you would put him at that position where now he is grateful for life that he's got this position, and you will never let him forget that he's got this position because of you. And if you can put him there, you can remove him from it. And it has to be a greedy person. So it has to be somebody who comes from a very humble background in so many ways. Because obviously a person who comes from a respectable background wouldn't even look at you, because they know that they're competent, they know that they have their own merits, they know that they have their own talents, they know that they are qualified to get to wherever it is that they want to. But if it is somebody from a humble background, then he is greedy. He's greedy for money, he's greedy for power, and you will use that to use him. And that is exactly what is being done here. So we've got this very greedy, this very humble, this very unqualified chief of army staff, who has, nothing in his own brains. I mean, he is practically as unoriginal as they go. So he is literally following every decision to the T. Whatever is being dictated to him by the Americans, and, he's just following that. That's it. But obviously we have a problem with the rest of the army. If you're saying that we shouldn't blame the rest of the army, we should only blame him. No. The reason why we need to blame the rest of the army is because the army considers itself one body. Right? So yes, as it is it is a rule within the army as well, that if one person in your team does wrong, the whole team needs to be punished for it, right? So the chief of army staff is doing something that is wrong, that is illegal, that is treason. So obviously the whole batch needs to be punished for it, right? Especially since there very few people tried to come up with a very unorganized mutiny, and at the end they got court-martialed. This is not the way to do it, and I'm surprised that they even tried it that way, because that is not how mutiny is done now, is it? Mutiny is done when you have the whole caboodle with you. You know, the whole platoon has to be with you in order for you to carry out a mutiny. What kind of a mutiny were they trying to organize where they couldn't even start it and they were already court-martialed? Yeah, no, I find that very fishy too, to be very honest. It means that they were not trying a mutiny. They were just trying to, discuss that he should stop whatever it is he's doing. So that was very hypocritical, come to think of it. What made him think he would stop? He wasn't there to stop. He wasn't brought there to stop. He didn't come there to stop. Use your brains. I mean, if you're supposed to be in the intelligence services in the army, and you think that you are, as an army unit, you're supposed to be extremely intelligent, which actually you've just proven why people always say that the army is anything but intelligent. So there you have it. The army is indeed anything but intelligent, because you can see how stupid they are, and look at the performance, that they have zero performance. And so, yes, we will blame the whole army. Don't tell us not to blame the whole army. The whole army is to be blamed for what their chief is doing, because they are standing quietly, and silence is compliance. And similarly, we'll blame the mass of Pakistan as well, because the people of Pakistan, despite the fact that they're pissed off, despite the fact that they're unhappy, despite the fact that they're just erupting like tiny volcanoes all over in protests, they're not going on a nationwide rebellion. They're not going again on a mutiny, in a way, where the public refuses to accept the government, and where the public refuses to pay their bills, where they refuse to pay the taxes because they know that the government is stealing from them and the government is illegitimate. And so then, that is how the public works. And that is how, again, I will remind you, that is exactly what we did when we moved as a nation to remove this government and get the elections done and get Imran Khan up there as the prime minister. But again, I would say that the reason why his government got toppled so easily is because he did not take steps. He did not take cruel steps against these traitors. He should have slapped a treason charge on them and their fellow army members who worked with them, like Bajwa and the rest. He should not have trusted Bajwa. Bajwa is the one that backstabbed him. He should not have trusted Bajwa. He should have let him go instead of giving him an extension. He should have just thrown him out once his term was due. That is always the biggest mistake any honest man can make, when he is not bringing people up without merit. And Bajwa was not his man in any case. So Bajwa was just planted there to ensure that this government would not stay, you see. And that is exactly what happened. So they already planted a lot of mines and a lot of loopholes before they left. Again, why? Because they were given that chance. While he was still in the government, Imran Khan, in the name of following the law, in the name of doing it by the books, he granted them those chances. And that was the biggest mistake you could ever make. And obviously the country is suffering because of it. He is suffering, but the country is suffering because of it. He should not have been very righteous. He should not have followed the law. He should have acted like a dictator for a while. He should have acted like a true dictator for a while, and everybody was with him in any case. He had nothing to fear. And in that, the first thing he should have done was to slap treason charges on the Sharif family as well as Zardari family, because let's face it, these are not false charges. They have been committing treason for 3-4 decades, and they're doing it now very openly, very blatantly. At whose expense again? At our expense. The army is committing treason. The law enforcement agencies are committing treason. Imagine that your government, your governmental bodies, your public bodies, public organizations, they are committing treason against the people of the country. I mean, how much worse can it get? That your actual representatives have turned against you. Well, they were not your representatives, but again, let me say, true to being a Pakistani, as long as you've drunk the water from Pakistan, as long as you were born in Pakistan and you've drunk that water, then you will turn out like people like these. And in that case, they are truly a reflection of our people. Because listen, if our people were not also inherently dishonest, if they had not reached to such lengths in corruption and dishonesty that they've actually forgotten the fact that there is a difference between how to be honest and what is honesty and what is dishonesty, the fact that they have forgotten to differentiate between honesty and dishonesty, that shows that it has steeped into their bones. And that is why this illegitimate government is ultimately the true representative of our people, because dishonesty and corruption has steeped into people's bones. It is in their blood. Hypocrisy, dishonesty, and corruption. If 90% of our people had dignity, and if they were honest, and if they were not corrupt, we wouldn't be here today. So yes, the mass is to be blamed, especially the boomers. Again, as I'll tell you, the boomers are to be blamed, because they are the ones that steeped it all within us. And this is why, despite the fact that we're trying to fight it, we cannot fight it. Again, why? Because you have to be a hypocrite, really, in order to, think that you can fight it and get a change. You cannot bring about change in Pakistan without changing yourselves. And you cannot change yourselves without recognizing the fact that you are wrong, that you are also corrupt, that you are also dishonest, that you are also part of this thing. You are part of this whole corrupt culture that your government is representing. So, if you are people who do not honor your words, who do not keep your promises, who practice dishonest practices on your daily life, within your homes and outside, if you are essentially hypocrites, you cannot change your country. You cannot even believe that you are fighting for this country, because you're not. If you really were fighting for this country, you would first do a deep dive into yourself and see how and where you are wrong too, and how you need to redeem yourself first in order to actually actively be able to change this country. So yeah, our people are to be blamed, definitely to be blamed. The fact that they sat lazily on their bums for 4 decades, what the hell were they waiting for, seriously? Which dignified nation has ever sat on their bums and allowed thieves and traitors to rule over them for 40 years? Seriously, who does that? I mean, look at Britain. They're as stupid as hell. And yet they even have this enough sense that if they do not like a prime minister, out he's thrown. How many prime ministers have they changed right now recently in this very short span of time? In less than 2 years, how many prime ministers have they actually changed? And in 40 years, how many have you thrown out and changed? You keep throwing one out and getting him back, and then you throw the other out and get it's over here. It's more like a circus show where somebody's just zip lining out and then zipping back in. You say that you've toppled that. I mean, people claim that Pakistanis have no patience. That is why people have never completed their terms. Yeah, well, Pakistanis have a vast amount of patience, as you can see, and that is why these people keep coming back. It is their own enemies that keep overthrowing them, and then they come, they overthrow those enemies, then they come. So it's a cycle of the two families overthrowing each other, the two organized crime families basically fighting for the turf. It's as simple as that. You've got two gangs. You've got the donkey gang, and then you've got the dog gang. You can decide which is which. And the donkey and the dog have been fighting each other for the turf for the past 40 years. That's it, really. That's all it amounts to at the end of the day. So, we now have understood the vision of Maryam Nawaz is that apart from posing, I think she wanted to be an actress or a model, and she was very, very badly rejected maybe. So she is, fulfilling her unfulfilled dreams. Although I really do say that it's more about her genes, we really need to decipher her genes. Who really is the parent here? Whose daughter is she really? And then at the end of the day, this is her digitalization of Pakistan, which is basically shutting down the internet. Amazing. Have you ever heard of such an original idea in your life? How so very original of Maryam Nawaz. Salutes to you, salutes. Many, many salutes. Moron. This is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.